Hi friends, we're going to start a brand new story today by one of our favorite authors, Kate DiCamillo. And the story is called Leroy Ninker Saddles Up. And this book is from a series, Tales from Decawoo Drive. So friends, we of course remember Leroy Ninker from previous stories. And now I believe we'll learn a little more about him. So let's take a peek. We'll look at one chapter today. Leroy Ninker saddles up. And maybe this is a clue. We have a horse. I believe that's at night. Looks like he's standing in front of the moon with some stars. Volume 1. Dedication page to Amy and her class of heroes. And ooh, I noticed some little symbols. In the Mercy Watson book, we saw a lot of toast, but now I see little horseshoes. Chapter 1. Leroy Ninker worked at the Bugeaud Drive-In Theater concession stand. It was Leroy's job to pour drinks and butter popcorn and smile a very large smile. At the concession stand, Leroy Ninker said, "Thank you very much." He said, "Extra butter on that?" He also said, "Yippee-I-O." Leroy Ninker said, "Yippee-I-O," because Leroy Ninker had a dream. He wanted to be a cowboy. On Wednesday nights, the Bugeaud Drive-In Theater ran a Western double feature, and Leroy Ninker stood and watched in wonder at the great wide expanse of the Bugeaud screen filled with purple mountains, wide open plains, and cowboys. The cowboys wore 10-gallon hats. They wore boots. They carried lassos. The cowboys were men who cast long shadows and knew how to fight injustice. They were men who were never, ever afraid. "Yippee-I-O," Leroy Ninker whispered to the screen. "That is the life for me. A cowboy is who I'm meant to be." "Who are you whispering to?" said Beatrice Leopolini. Beatrice was the ticket seller at the Bugeaud. Once all the tickets were sold and the movie had begun, Beatrice joined Leroy Ninker in the concession stand so she could eat popcorn and watch the movie. "I am not whispering," said Leroy Ninker very loudly. "Cowboys do not whisper." "Can I make a point?" said Beatrice Leopolini. "Can I make a simple observation?" "Yes," said Leroy. "All these cowboys," said Beatrice. "What have they got?" "Hats," said Leroy Ninker as he stared at the screen. "And also boots." "Yep," said Beatrice. "What else?" "Lassos," said Leroy. He put his hand on his lasso. "And?" said Beatrice. "Tracking abilities," said Leroy. Beatrice heaved a heavy sigh. "I'm thinking of something you can actually see. Something right in front of you." She paused. "Something that the cowboys are sitting on." Leroy Ninker took off his hat and scratched his head. Beatrice sighed again. "Oh, horses, Leroy," she said. "Every cowboy needs a horse." Leroy Ninker was a small man with a big dream. He was also the kind of man who knew the truth when he heard it. Suddenly, his hat and his lasso and his boots and his yippee-yi-yos didn't feel like enough. Beatrice Leopoldini was right. How could he ever hope to be a cowboy, a real cowboy, a true cowboy, without a horse? Yep, said Beatrice, you've got a problem. You've got to procure a horse. But don't worry, I happen to have the solution for you right here. She held out a copy of the Gisford Gazette. Listen, she said. Beatrice adjusted her glasses. She cleared her throat. Horse for sale, Beatrice Leopoldini read. Old but good. Very exceptionally cheap. Yippee-yi-oh, said Leroy Ninker. He took out his wallet and counted his money. He looked at Beatrice Leopoldini. He said, How much is very exceptionally cheap? I guess you won't know until you ask, said Beatrice. Right, said Leroy. He counted his money again. I hope I have enough. Listen, said Beatrice. What you have to do here is take fate in your hands and wrestle it to the ground. Right, said Leroy. I am going to wrestle fate. I am going to get a horse. There you go, said Beatrice. She tore the ad out of the newspaper and handed it to Leroy. Yippee-yi-yo, said Leroy. He carefully folded the piece of paper and put it in his wallet. Don't forget to inspect the teeth, said Beatrice Leopoldini, and the hooves. That is what matters with horses, teeth and hooves. Teeth and hooves, said Leroy Ninker. Exactly, said Beatrice. That night, Leroy Ninker did not sleep well. He dreamed of horses. Specifically, he dreamed of teeth and hooves. Also, he dreamed of Beatrice Leopoldini. In his dream, she kept clearing her throat and saying, Take fate in your hands. Take fate in your hands. Take fate in your hands. And then what? Said Leroy Ninker in the dream. And then, said Beatrice Leopoldini in a very solemn voice, you must wrestle it to the ground. And that, my friends, is the end of the first chapter. Pretty wild so far. I will be reading chapter 2 later this week, so please check back for it soon. I hope you're enjoying it so far.